I used to sleep in till 9 a.m., check Slack in bed, and feel behind the pulse all day. Now, I get more done before 8 a.m. than most people get done in an entire day. Trust me, it sucks at first, but waking up consistently at 5 a.m. quickly transformed from discipline to freedom to a $100 million company. Hey, this is Arjun. I'm the CEO and founder of doola.com, a YC-backed fintech startup in New York City that's raised over $13 million. Today, I'm gonna share the AM framework. Yes, that is my initials, but the reason why it's called the AM framework is because this is how you win the morning. And this might be a bold claim. Waking up at 5 a.m., that doesn't magically give you a $100 million company, but I'm gonna try to prove that yes, it does. This has been one of the most valuable, high impact company and individual trajectory changing habits I've started in my life. Let me share a scenario that might sound familiar to you. Waking up every day with an alarm clock, feeling a bit tired. It's like you could always sleep an extra hour or two, getting right into your messages, your Slacks, your emails. The whole morning goes by and then you realize, wait a second, my brain still feels fried. I've had 4 cups of coffee. I haven't even gotten to work on my to-do list. And the only time I have time to work is the weekend. And then Monday comes back around and you're in the same cycle. That is reality for many founders. And here's the truth. I was in that cycle when we were just getting Doola off the ground. Now, the biggest flip I had to make was this lesson of, wait a second, you are the most valuable asset when you're starting a company. Well, mostly because you're the only person. But the bigger thing is, if the captain of the ship isn't in the right state, the rest of the team isn't going to be as well. So the biggest change I made and the biggest realization I had is the way you start your morning sets the tone not only for your entire day, but it can be contagious throughout your company. This is where I personally discovered, through a ton of experimentation, the power of a morning routine. Now, I actually want to show you a couple morning routines over the last couple years building Doola. And as I go through these, you're going to see, yes, maybe a couple steps change slightly, but the overall pattern or arc has remained the same. So this first video is from December 2022, which is almost 3 years ago. This is my morning routine as CEO of a fintech startup in New York City. First up, I wake up when I wake up. I don't set an alarm. I then make my bed every single day. Some habits are hard to break. I then use the bathroom. After that, it's pre-workout time, starting with some athletic greens, followed by some whey protein. Shake that up as well, with one more piece of fuel, a banana. And I'll read a few pages on my Kindle while eating and drinking on my way to the gym. It's then gains a clock, where I'll hit my workout, follow that up with some cardio, some 12-3-30 incline walking on the treadmill, hit some abs. Next up is the steam room, where I meditate for 10 minutes before getting ready for work and then walking to work through Madison Square Park. I hit the office, walk the red carpet to get inside, and make my typical post-workout meal, some protein oatmeal. And then we start the day. Let's do it. Okay, so some things have changed, some things haven't changed. First thing is, for example, I don't have athletic greens anymore, and instead of having oatmeal after my workouts, I'm having rice cakes now. But a lot of things I'm still doing 3 years later the same. I like to wake up naturally. I typically do wake up. The clock there said 4:58, typically around 5. And I do like to work out. Maybe instead of 10 minutes in the steam room, I'll just do it 2 minutes if I have the time. And I do like to exercise and do some cardio each day. So you'll see there, the overall framework actually has remained the same. I'll still have ideally a banana before my workout, but that morning routine there from 3 years ago, back in 2022, our valuation at that time was $10 million coming out of YC. So fast forward to today, we've reached a $100 million valuation. I've experienced a ton of growth individually, and the company has grown too. Now, you might be saying, oh, that was 3 years ago. Let me play another video, which is actually from earlier this year, showing my morning routine as well. Now, this video is from April 17th, 2025. So that's actually just from a couple months ago this year. Now we are about to city bike on a Blue Eyes White Dragon to the oil rigs, aka the office. For my workouts, my brain's always spinning. I have my task list prepared and ready to go from the previous night. So I'm ready to cook, I'm ready to roll, ready to hit the ground running, ready to do it. many similarities. Yes, now I'm maybe having this blueprint drink instead. There's some honey here, which I wasn't having before. I still like to make my bed. I climb the Eiffel Tower on the stair stepper instead of doing incline treadmill walk. But the point here is that there's this same pattern of I like to wake up. I like to get moving within the first 30 minutes, ideally. I like to exercise, and then I like to head to the office nice and early to get some heads down work in. When I was actually just thinking about this is when I connected the dots. That morning fortress, or the morning, has been so critical to me. Now, I want to actually just walk through how I think about this framework. Again, I called it the AM framework because it really is about winning your morning. And I mentioned earlier that the way you start your morning can set the tone for the full day. I want to show you this image. This is the image I think about when I think about how you can orchestrate or create the perfect day. So the first part of this is to win the morning. And I view myself as an athlete. I'm not competing in powerlifting. I'm not in the NBA. I'm not in the NFL, but I'm an athlete. My field is the keyboard. And my energy is performing and maintaining a high level of energy internally with the team, with customers, with investors. So I like this image here because it shows me how at every point in the day, if I can make the right decision, I end up ending at the top of a perfect day versus a bad day. So when you wake up in the morning, you're starting here on the left. Each time throughout the day, you can either make a good choice or a bad choice. So if I wake up and instead of scrolling on my phone endlessly in bed, I decide to get out of bed and start hydrating, I've made good choice number one. And then let's say, I don't really feel like exercising, but I've done this enough times to know if I do exercise, I have so much more energy for the day, confidence for the day, charisma for the day. I'm less stressed. I made another good choice. And then when I get to the office, let's say, like maybe someone left some cake on the counter, but while it would taste good, if I know if I eat the cake, my brain's gonna be fried for the morning work. So let's make some nice protein oatmeal with some chocolate chips. So it's a little sweet, but it's protein. Okay, that's another good decision I've made. And if I keep stacking those good decisions, at the end of the day, you've connected all of these dots and you've gotten really hard work done, but you've also pushed the ball forward in a fantastic way. So I love this image and chart because to me, waking up early, taking care of my health, my body, my mind, and then just having some nice heads down time before everyone else comes online, to me is that morning fortress where you can actually, again, get more done before 8 a.m. or even 10 a.m. before most people get an entire day. So A, you want to awaken and activate. The first thing is, look, it might suck at first to wake up early, but once you do it enough times, I kid you not, your body will just naturally start to wake up early and you'll feel tired more early, so you'll wake up earlier too. The next step is accomplish. And to me, I have this habit. I still do it. It's weird. I even do it when I'm traveling in a hotel. I like to make my bed every single morning. And I heard this because it's just a small win for the day. You've accomplished one thing. So yeah, maybe it's a bit OCD, but I like to make my bed every morning. I've accomplished something. Next up is aqua. So that's hydrating. Your body is mostly water. You wake up, you haven't drank in hours. I like to have a nice big cold glass of water, or warm, whatever water it is, just have some water. And the next up is to activate. This is my pre-workout. Again, sometimes if I don't have anything, I'll just go work out, but I like to have some water, a banana, and some whey protein to activate and prime my body before exercise. Then the next step is to M, to move. And I've just found, look, I like to drink coffee. I found exercise in the morning for me personally is the best natural type of caffeine. I've also found, and I've tried so many different times of days, I've tried midday, I've tried end of day. If I don't get it done in the morning, it's much less likely it'll happen later. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't days when I might try to do it later, but the next M is to move. And look, it doesn't even have to be a full workout. It could be a bike to work. It could be a walk around the block. It could be 15 push-ups, but I like to at least do something in terms of movement each day. I like to do a bit of meditation each morning, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I kid you not. Sometimes I'll just take 2 deep breaths or 10 deep breaths. Other times I might sit there for a few minutes, but I like to center myself after my workout. I then call it my march to work. So sometimes I'll city bike or go to work, but at that point, my brain is just fired up. I have these post-exercise endorphins. I have so much energy, and that's actually when some of my best ideas start flying, and I'm ready to attack the keyboard. I have my task list set from the previous night. And then the final M here as part of movement is maximize. These are the golden hours for me. These mornings are when I can make a good choice. I can attack my to-do list with the highest priority, most impactful items. And then literally the way I feel is when 10 a.m. rolls around, or 10:30, or even lunch, I've gotten more done in that entire morning. I've taken care of my health. I've attacked the biggest problems in the business. I quite literally feel like I've gotten one day done before noon, and then a full day is starting after lunchtime. So let me just share some final takeaways here. This compounds over time. If you think about it, if you just keep stacking these mornings where you're exercising, your health's going to exponentially improve. And then that feeds into stacking these mornings of 1 to 3 hours of just heads down time, attacking the biggest problems in your business is going to improve. And that's when this really cool flywheel happens. If you have more energy to work on problems, the business is going better, you're more excited then to keep doing the routine, this really cool flywheel starts to spin. The next thing, and this is why I called it the AM framework, is I truly believe if you win the morning, you win the day. I've gotten told by partners and other people, like, you seem to have a lot of energy. And look, the truth is, I think it actually is because energy creates energy. So by starting my days with energy, even if I don't feel like it, it just gives me more energy throughout the rest of the day. And I do think that's contagious, whether it's with the team, investors, or potential people that you're recruiting to join your company. And lastly, again, you might be sitting here thinking, okay, like, I get the morning routine, but if I just start waking up at 5 a.m., I'm not going to magically get a business. You're right. It's not just as simple as waking up, but I do think if you go back to that chart of good decisions, bad decisions, this has just been one of the most compounding things that I've done. And look, it doesn't have to be 5. Maybe it's 6, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 9. The point here is give it a shot. If you do feel like I was describing at the beginning that your days are running away from you, maybe even just start by pushing forward by 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, and slowly yet surely you can see if the AM framework helps turn your days around. Now, the final thing I'll share, I'm going to share 2 hacks. The first biggest objection I get is, but I'm not a morning person. I know you're not. And here's the truth. You can turn yourself into one. Here's what I would advise. Step 1 is you're going to set an alarm and you're going to wake up no matter what. Maybe you only get 6 hours of sleep. You're going to push through it. You'll have a big cup of coffee or 4. The next night, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to force yourself to wake up. And I guarantee you, after 3 days of doing this, you will naturally start to wake up early. So that's my candid advice, is just push through those first 3 days. Your body will adapt. Trust me. The second thing is, this is my favorite hack I've found to actually getting good sleep, because I think getting to sleep at the right time is the best way to ensure you wake up. And it's called the 10-3-2-1 rule. 10 stands for cut caffeine consumption, ideally 10 hours before sleep. So if you sleep at 9 p.m., which is when I typically like to get in bed so I can wake up at 5 or by 9:30, that means cutting caffeine consumption before 12, around 11. The next is 3. 3 stands for cutting or slowing down your food intake 3 hours before bed. So I like to have dinner around 5:30 to 6:30, about 3 hours before I sleep. 2 stands for if you drink too much water before you sleep, your bladder will wake you up in the middle of the night, and that's not good for continuous sleep. So slowing down or cutting your water intake 2 hours before sleep. And then the 1 stands for screen time. Trying to turn off your phones, cut off blue light at least 1 hour before bed. And what I found is leaving the office, if I just power down my phones, then I get at least 30 to 60 minutes without looking at my phone before you sleep. Your phone light, that blue light, is not good for sleep. So that's a wrap. That is the AM framework. Yes, it might be my initials, but the key here is the AM stands for winning the morning. It stands for awaken and activate and move. And it stands for maximizing these early mornings, your morning fortress. And again, I think this can really work if you're building a business, but I think this can apply to anyone as well. That is a wrap. If you have any questions about this routine or other habits and things that I do while scaling Doola, please comment down below. I'd love to help and try to answer. Also, if you yourself are scaling a business and are looking for help with your back office, that's quite literally why Doola exists. We have built this business in a box to help you focus on what you do best while Doola handles the rest. You can head down below and schedule a free demo at doola.com. And last but not least, if you found this valuable, please like, subscribe. I put out videos like this on the regular. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.